Hey, welcome back to another episode of Whiskey Row. Well, today I have some confessions to make, and well, if you end up liking this video, please smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. But today is confession time. It's time. There comes a time in every whiskey tuber's life where they have to step back from just drinking whiskey and talking about notes and everything else and reflect. Well, I've made some mistakes. So today we're going to be going through some of the biggest mistakes that I've made on WhiskeyTube, some of my worst takes that I've had, and I'm going to correct the record. Well, first off, if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that I regularly make mistakes. I make them in filming, I make them in editing, I make them in live streams. It happens, honestly, quite a lot. And part of that is because, well, I'm just not that smart. And part of that is because, well, my brain doesn't work fast enough because I'm not smart to actually speak well, and I can't think of what I'm going to say. And so sometimes things just come out. Now, there's a couple of things that I said back in the past, and I've done pretty well lately in not saying them, but you know, it may still sneak out every now and then. And that is mispronouncing the names of common bourbons. Some examples of this that I've made are calling Old Forester 1910. I've called it 1911 after the 1911 handguns because, yeah. So that's a mistake that I've done, and I've done it many, many times. Another mistake I've made is calling Eagle Rare or Buffalo Trace, either one. I've called them both Eagle Trace. And there's no real good explanation for that one other than my brain is not good. Now, some of you may be saying, well, David, you should be apologizing for your mispronunciation of Scotch and Irish names. And frankly, I'm not going to apologize for that because if they wanted it to be pronounced correctly, they wouldn't use Gaelic. They would just use regular Old English words like Old Crow. I can't mess that up. I don't think I can, at least. But I'm just saying that the Irish and Scotch names aren't my fault. Now, aside from my legendary mispronunciation of things, another thing that I regularly do wrong is I'll have a bottle and I'll drink it and I'll kind of get an impression of the bottle, and then I'll share it with all of you because that's, you know, I tend to not hold back very much in my reviews, and I'm usually pretty open about whether I like something or don't like something, or if it's great or bad or medium or whatever. But one bottle that I have come to regret my initial take of was Barrel Craft Spirits Grey Label Seagrass. Now, I never had a bottle of that, but I do have a bottle of their 15-year Grey Label bourbon, which was a real disappointment for me for the price. It's good whiskey, it tastes good, but for the price and the rarity, I was just kind of let down. But when I got a sample of the Grey Label Seagrass from a great patron in the community, he sent me a sample, and I love regular Barrel Craft Spirits Seagrass, the standard regular one. It's fantastic. I really, really enjoy that one. But whenever he sent me the Grey Label Seagrass, I put it up against the regular Seagrass, and I kind of liked the regular Seagrass better. Now, one of the problems is when you're doing reviews, there's a difference between saying this is special, it's unique, it's interesting, it's expensive, and I like this one better. Right, like some people really like the interesting notes you get on a super old whiskey, and I get they're special, but I don't love those super, super old notes. I like a good oaky note, but when it gets into like funky mushrooms and other stuff, not so much. So just because I like the regular Seagrass better at the time, many people were like, how could you not like the Grey Label Seagrass? And so not too long ago, I ended up having another sample of the Grey Label Seagrass from the same patron, not knowing what it was at the time. And I liked it much, much better the second time. I don't know if it's because it had a chance to open up. I don't know if it's because my palate changed but for whatever reason, I had to change my tune. I screwed up my initial review of the Grey Label Barrel Craft Spirits Seagrass. Another bottle that I've gotten a lot of flack for over the last couple of years is a video I did. It was like something along the lines of, don't buy these 6 bourbons. It was one of my most popular videos that I've ever done. And in that, I said some very, very negative things about this bottle. Weller Antique 107. Coming in at 107 proof, delicious Weller juice. And at the time, I said it was overrated. And not to buy it. And I think I might have even said that I liked Weller Special Reserve better. And I've come to regret that review, or at least that list as it stood. I've said many times since then that I've changed my tune on this, but I felt like I needed to bring it up just to make sure that everybody out there knows that even though this isn't my favorite Weller, it's not bad juice. I just don't love it. It's better than Special Reserve. It's not as good as 12, and it's not as good as Full Proof or the higher, you know, quality, higher price stuff. But it's still, it's a decent bottle of whiskey, and for retail, it's definitely one you want to pick up. I still wouldn't chase it very much, but that's just me. I'm just saying I'd not go over maybe $70, $80 if on the secondary. But if you do, if you want to, if you love it, that's up to you. But even in my initial take, I didn't say never buy it. I just said don't buy it over retail. And it's overrated. And I think to an extent it's kind of still true. I don't know. Maybe I'm on the fence about taking this one back. It's good. It's good whiskey. That's what I'm drinking right now, and I do enjoy it. It's just a little oakier on the... there's kind of a bitter oaky thing on the finish that I still don't love, but it's not bad. But I'll say that I've changed my tune on this one. It's no longer on my list of 6 whiskeys to not buy. Another bottle of whiskey that I kind of blasted when it came out, and I kind of regret it just a little bit. Not fully, but I've got a partial regret here, and this is Remus Repeal Reserve number 6. So when that came out, they jacked the price up by $20, and they reduced the age by, I think, a year, or the average age by a year. It's not that it's a bad bourbon, it's just the of all these different factors coming together, the price being raised, the age going down. It's not as good as the 5. The 5 was actually really, really good. The 6 was not so good. But I went back to it the other day. It's been a long, long time since I've have touched it. It's not a bad bourbon. It's not bad at all. Is it worth 120? I don't know. Up to you. But it definitely is better than I remember it. It's not as special as the 5, but it's not bad. I've had some time to let go of the price that I paid, to let go of the reduced age and just sip on it for what it is. It's not bad. Another thing that I commonly mess up on in videos is the pricing of things. Now, sometimes when I quote a price, I'm quoting the price here in Virginia, and Virginia has, it's price controlled. The price is set by the state, and I'm guessing it has something to do with MSRP from the distillery or whatever. But whatever the case is, a lot of times I use that price, and many of you out there are like, oh, I can get it here for this one, you know, oh, it costs that much more. And I hear you. Everywhere, every liquor store, every state is going to have different pricing. Now I try to back off the exact price, and I try to say it's around $60, $65, right? I kind of soften that and kind of give some squishy wiggle room. But I do love it when you guys post in videos, in comments, and let me know what the price is that you paid for something, because I actually really do like doing that. So yeah, so that's really cool. So keep doing that. I love that. Now, another common mistake that I make in these videos that I shoot here in this speakeasy in my basement is the statement that this is an available bottle. Now, that's a loaded word, and it's one that maybe I should not use. It's hard to say. So availability is hard because here in Virginia, certain bottles are usually available. Sometimes they sell out, for example, but it's generally they're available. You can go in to most stores or order it from the warehouse. But in your liquor store, some things are available that are special and allocated to me, and then other things are available here that you never get to see. Now, also, when I travel to certain places, I may go into a store in Georgia, because we're down in Georgia quite often, and I'll go into a store in Georgia and I'll see stuff that I can't get here in Virginia, and I'll then mention in a video that it was just sitting on the shelf in Virginia. I've seen handles of Buffalo Trace down there, E.H. Taylor. I've seen regular sized Buffalo Traces and Eagle Rares sitting on the shelf. In Georgia, those are sometimes available, I guess I'll say. Way more available than they are here in Virginia, and probably more available than they are for you. But it just goes to show that it's so dependent on state distribution networks and all of those other things that I can't necessarily know exactly all the distribution channels, but I do need to be more careful with that and be less sloppy in how I use words. And the reason that I'm not good with words is because I'm not very smart. Well, those are some of the many, many reasons that I'm just not very smart, and I make a lot of mistakes here on YouTube, here on Whiskey Row. Whatever the case may be, I do this because I love making these videos. I love interacting with all of you. In spite of my flaws and my mistakes, I have a blast doing it. If you ended up enjoying this video, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and until next time, find a bottle you love.